Hello, this is John T. Reed. I'm with my sons Dan Reed and Mike Reed.
So Texas gets hit by Harvey. Now Florida's about to get
But
Irma.
no,
What's
wait a minute.
going on in Florida?
Wait a minute. Texas didn't get hit by Irma. Texas and Louisiana got hit by Harvey. Texas and Louisiana. We don't want to leave out Louisiana because I gave them a little gas about how the Texans seem to handle Harvey better than the Louisianans or New Orleanians.
I think only Houston got hit.
Yeah, well, New Orleanians didn't handle Katrina very well, but they are also victims of Harvey. It's just hard when New Orleans gets flooded. It's like people don't know that it's different. It was already 20 feet below sea level or whatever. So Irma is now bearing down on the in the Caribbean and bearing down on the northern Caribbean. And what I wanted to talk about is not hurricanes and stuff, because that's not my area of expertise, but rather all the people running to the stores and getting in big lines at the gas station and trying to buy food and water and generators and fuel and medicine and all that. In my book, How to Protect Your Life Savings from Hyperinflation and Depression, I said I have a chapter called Advance, Purchase, and Sale. And if you think about it, one of the ways to protect yourself from prices going up is to buy everything you need before they go up. So that's what the chapter is about, how to buy everything you need for the rest of your life now, when it's cheap and easy and plentiful. Now, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Hence my chuckle.
As my son saw the laugh sign go on, so he chuckled. We have a chuckle sign, too, Anyway, there are ways, saying to buy everything you need for the rest of your life now is a bit of an exaggeration. You probably only need a year or two's worth in the worst scenario. And some things are hard to store. Like I was thinking, well, I used a lot of gasoline. Could I get like a year's worth of gasoline and put it in my backyard? And the answer is no. You can get killed by gasoline. It's very explosive. It's probably illegal to put in most backyards. And I thought, well, what about diesel? And I researched that, and we had diesel, which we called number 2 heating oil when I lived in the Northeast. And everybody had, or not everybody, but some people had gas, but a lot of people got heating oil to heat their house delivered by a truck. And you either had a 750-gallon tank in your basement, and a guy'd come up like the old coal man would do 100 years ago, and he would open a pipe sticking out of your basement and put the nozzle of the hose in there and fill up your tank. And then some people had buried tanks that had 1,500-gallon capacity.
You tried to clarify a dated reference with an even more dated reference of the coal man.
The coal man, yeah. They used to get coal company. When I was a kid, a coal truck would pull up next to your house, and there would be a window from the basement, and it would have a coal chute. And the guy would lift up the truck, and the coal would run down the chute.
That sounds pretty efficient, Mike. You don't want coal delivered to your basement?
No, can't say I do.
Anyway, we had heating oil in the Northeast, and I think they still do have a lot of it. A lot of people switched to gas, but anyway, we never did anything. The oil went in there, and then we just used it to heat the house. We never thought about it. It turns out if you store heating oil, which is also known as diesel, the big difference is heating oil is not taxed, and diesel, they tax the heck out of it. If you store diesel for an extended period, apparently it gets mucked up. It gets algae in it and stuff. So you have to put chemicals in it, and you have to filter it. And I decided I didn't want to get involved with all that nonsense. So then I looked at compressed natural gas, also known as propane. And there are cars, like Honda Civic has one they make at the factory that runs on propane. There's compressed natural gas. And my son and I, Mike, we test drove the thing. It felt like a regular car. The place you go to fill up is at a UPS depot, truck depot, or a Pacific Gas and Electric depot in our area. And they have one pump for civilians. And it's like going to the gas station. You take out your credit card and you run it through, and it makes a lot of noise when it doesn't fill you up. It pressurizes your tank. It raises the PSI. And then if you had a car like that in Sandy, you would have been driving around when everybody else is in line at the Hess station, which was the only one that had backup generators. All the other stations were closed. So you're trying to have a multi-fuel capacity and have alternatives to the normal stuff for getting water and food and fuel and everything. So I see all these people in Florida now. They're standing in huge lines, or they're sitting in their car in a huge line, burning gas as they wait to try to buy some. And probably they're going to empty the the gas station's tank because they're not used to that many people. It costs $5,000 to get a one-way ticket on an airplane out of South Florida now. It's just a mess. So you want to buy this stuff in advance when there's nothing going on of this nature. And it'll protect you not only from hyperinflation, but also from you losing your job or going bankrupt. And it'll protect you from these natural disaster situations. There have been some people who did not have electricity for a long time in some areas of these, Katrina and so forth, Sandy. So I recommend you do that. The food you get would be freeze-dried, and the Mormons sell dry pack stuff. The Mormons are big on having a year's supply of food all the time, which is a good idea. And then if you have a pool or a hot tub, which are both common here in California, that could be your water source in an emergency. I have filled a whole bunch of 2-liter bottles with this stuff. You burn through it.
Chlorinated water?
No, mine is just water, faucet water.
Do the water filters you have deal with anything?
Yeah, I bought a...
like chlorine?
I bought a... well, I don't think you deal with chlorine.
You
but
stored a bunch of tap water without putting any sort of chemical in it?
Correct. You're welcome to put one in now. I researched it a little. I mean, I'm not an expert, but... anyway, we have a lot of Coca-Cola stored in these same bottles, and that's mostly water.
Yeah, but they weren't opened and then filled.
Well, okay, we could boil it or run it through a filter. It's water. You look at it; it's water. It's just plain water. Anyway, you can also get water in an emergency out of your hot water tank. Just turn the tap on at the bottom, and that's water you can drink. You can also get water out of your plumbing system. Like if you have a 2-story house, you find the lowest faucet in the place. So it might be a hose bib outdoors, and you drain the whole house of all its water. Even though there's none new water coming in, the gravity will bring down the other water. And then I was looking on the map. I said, well, if I can't get any water out of my house for whatever reason, or we use it all up, where do I go next? Well, we have a babbling brook behind my house, but it only babbles in the spring, because we live on a mountain, and it rains only in the winter in California. And it rains, and it melts, and it runs down the babbling brook behind my house, and we could get drinking water there when it's running. But when it's not the spring, you have to follow the dried stream bed farther downhill, and then we have a pond nearby called Oak Hill Park. But I think that's kind of artificially maintained. I think they get the water out of the grid for that when it gets below the level they want. So then you have to keep going downstream, and you get to the San Ramon Creek, which generally has water in it all the time. And then maybe at the end of the summer that might dry out, and then you're going to have to go further downstream. You get to the Sacramento River. Now, I'm not sure the Sacramento River is not salty because it's connected to the Pacific Ocean, not far from us in San Francisco area.
At some point, it does, yeah. There's a transition from the fresh to the salt. But
it starts
you're
getting
into some of these more nuanced survival tactics. Does the book Hyperinflation and Depression, How to Protect Your Life Savings from Hyperinflation and Depression, kind of exhaustively look at these like you're sort of doing right now?
Yeah, it does. The main point I want to make is everybody should you should think about how you're going to get to water if you can't get it. I was thinking about writing a book called Plan B. And I was going to discuss all the things you take for granted: communications, hot water, bathing water, electricity, lights, and all that. All the things you take for granted. What would you do if the plan A, which is just flip a light switch, and plan B, which is the batteries in your house, what if both of those are run out or whatever? Then what do? You ought to think about that. That's not exhaustively discussed in the book. What the book says is get the long shelf life food, store water if you don't have a pool or something. If there's medicines you need, they're hard to store because your health plans usually don't want to give you very many of them because they're afraid you'll buy them cheap from them and then resell them. But anyway, and then fuel, if it's propane, you can have that in your backyard. It's safe to store. Diesel is a pain in the neck to store. Gasoline is probably illegal to store. And anyway, store what you can. It helps to live near where you work or where you go to school. Saves gasoline, stuff like that.
Well, you're saying gasoline's illegal to store.
I'm not sure about that. It's dangerous.
When prepping for when prepping for a disaster, should that be a concern? I suspect a lot of people listening who find this, they're like going to go out and do any of it. They're not so worried about whether they broke a law getting gasoline if the idea is they got to deal with this disaster. You're recommending other items.
Yeah, well, it's dangerous. For one thing, you have
just be dangerous.
You have to install a tank, okay, on your property. And I assume a gasoline storage tank has certain characteristics, and that there's companies that install them. And they're liable to say, excuse me, we're not allowed to put one of these in a suburban backyard.
Not in the right zoning.
And then you have to get gasoline inside of it. Now, what are you going to do? Go to the gas station with a 5-gallon can 80 times or something?
Suck it out of a tube.
And then you have to have a pump to get it out. I mean, it's...
Just go to the gas station, fill up a bucket.
Yeah, we're getting off the track here. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was barter. When you get a prolonged crisis, whether it's hyperinflation or some sort of a prolonged power outage or whatever, with hyperinflation especially, the currency doesn't work anymore, so people barter. And the barter typically is like they trade a grand piano that costs thousands of dollars for like 3 bags of groceries. Or they trade their grandfather's gold watch for 2 bags of groceries.
Is something similar to this happening in Venezuela? Are they doing it?
I believe so. It generally happens in every...
Right now.
Every country that has hyperinflation for an extended period. The money's no good, so you have to trade stuff that you own. In Germany, during the great hyperinflation in the early 20s, the people said you could see the stuff in the homes of the urban people transferring to the stuff of these rural people. So you would see artworks disappearing from the walls of your friends who lived in the city, and when you went to visit your relatives or friends that lived in the country, they all of a sudden have artwork. And the grand pianos are disappearing from the city townhouses and appearing in the farmhouses. And you're getting a lousy deal. I mean, you're getting a couple bags of groceries for a piano. So in my book, How to Protect Your Life Savings from Hyperinflation and Depression, I also have a chapter on barter. Now, most people think the good barter items are ammunition and gold. Ammunition and gold really suck as barter items. For one thing, with ammunition, there's like 8,000 different sizes. So if you got 38 caliber police special ammo, you can only trade with people who have 38 caliber police special guns and who don't have enough ammo for the gun.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
plus, it's not legal to sell ammo, I don't think, unless you're a dealer. Now, you may say, well, in an emergency, who cares? Okay, fine. But I'm just telling you the considerations.
Yeah, I was going to say the most common most common round used, it might still be useful to have that. But
okay, but it's not. It's
right,
not.
So
you can't eat it. People in hyperinflation in Germany were not running around saying ammo, ammo. I need ammo.
Not with that attitude.
They were saying food or foreign currency.
You pointed at the people with the food and you take it.
Yeah, well, there was nobody with the food. Anyway.
So what is good? Gold.
Gold. Let me discuss gold a little bit.
Ketchup packets.
Barter is a market where they don't give change. A gold coin, a 1-ounce gold coin, is currently worth about $1,350. If you're going to go shopping with a $1,300 bill in a market where they don't make change, what are you going to be buying? Like used Honda Civics with 20 years on them?
Soon to be rotten food.
Well, but you're going to, you had to buy a truckload of it. Anyway, barter items need to come in convenient denominations. Gold coins being $1,300.
Well, what's easily identifiable? What was the term?
That's another. Yeah. Well, there's there's like 6 or 8 criteria. That's all in the book. But a good barter item, the ideal barter item, is durable. It's not going to, get sour or whatever. Not going to get rusty. It is identifiable in terms of quality. So like if you have a $50 made before 1965 when they were 90% silver, that is currently worth about $6.50. So you can go to somebody with that when the regular money is no good. You say, hey, I want to give you this, and I want you to give me like 6 Cokes for it, 6 Coca-Colas. And he said, well, it's only 50 cents. 50 cents isn't worth anything anymore. You say, oh, no.
Buying Cokes in this situation.
Yeah. Well, it's a standard thing.
Identified?
Yeah, people, yeah. You know the quality. If it hasn't been opened, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's correct. Convenient denomination means what's in your pocket. And what's in your pocket is pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters, half dollars maybe, dollars, $5, $10, $20. That's what's in your pocket. Right. Those are convenient denominations. So you want your barter items to be the same. Junk silver, which is quarters, dimes, half dollars made before 1965, are worth well, like a $50 is worth a quarter is worth $6.50. Anyway, you can say to a guy during hyperinflation, go on the internet and look up coinflation and look at what the current value of a 50-cent piece is. And then the guy will hopefully say, oh, that makes sense. This is real silver. And he will sell you something. But the key point here is that he can look at that $50 and say that is a $50. Right. That is a U.S. $50 from 1964. But he cannot look at a gold coin, the vast majority of people, and say, yes, that's a gold coin. I'm going to give you $1,350 worth of stuff for that.
You want things that are small, that can fit in your pocket, but aren't too expensive like the gold.
Well, gold has
heavy.
Gold has a counterfeiting risk.
Right.
Nobody's counterfeiting.
Like diamonds. Like
forget
a diamond expert to figure
forget
it out.
that. Yeah, diamonds are totally out of the question. But gold, a quarter, you can look at a quarter and say, yeah, that's a quarter, and you can look at the year on it. So it's a good denomination. A quarter is worth about $3.50. It's a good denomination
from that year,
from before 1965.
Right.
A quarter is worth about $3. A good denomination, and a guy can look at it and say, yes, I agree, that's a quarter. He cannot look at a gold coin. Most people can't look at a gold coin and say, yes, I agree, that's a gold coin. So
but even if they do, how much is that gold coin worth? Not every gold coin is the same size, the same
purity, all that, yeah. So anyway, good barter items would be junk silver. These are dimes, quarters, half dollars, minted before 1965. They're good barter items because they're durable, and you can tell what they are. I like to buy for barter items the sample size stuff you see in the supermarket, sample and travel size. Now my wife says, well, they're very expensive. And I say, well, yeah, per ounce, they're very expensive, but we travel, so we use them for that. You know, I walk down the hall and grab a shampoo or something.
The size of shampoos you're allowed to take on an airplane, that kind of thing?
Yeah, but it's not for air travel. And during barter, or during a hyperinflation crisis, you wouldn't want, you go to, Marty said go to Costco, buy like Head and Shoulder shampoo there. Well, you have to buy it in 55-gallon drums at Costco. And that's not a convenient denomination. At the supermarket, you can buy the little...
You could turn that into convenient denomination.
Yeah, but then people aren't sure it's for real, that you didn't water it down and all that stuff. So you got to have that...
Which we would.
You got to have that verifiability thing.
Wasn't that Russia or somewhere? They had the bars of soap. As soon as they took them home, they shriveled.
Whenever you have a black market, you're going to have problems like that. So you want them to be verifiable, so they can look at the little travel size Head and Shoulders and see that it is. And when you open, I think it has a little metal cap where it used to be. So they can believe that it is what you say it is, and it's a good denomination. And the next thing you want with a barter item, which is not true of bullets, is it's stuff that people use up on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Mm-hmm. So and you wouldn't want tools, you wouldn't want nails, stuff like that, because it's although people need them, they don't need them as often as they need shampoo and toothpaste and razors and all that stuff. So you want stuff that people use. You want it to be in a form that they can verify the quality of it. You know, yes, that is a Head and Shoulders travel bottle of shampoo. Yes, that is a Good News Gillette razor. And you want it to be a convenient denomination. And you don't want the world to know you have it. So it doesn't matter now, but if they know you have it and the inflation hits the fan, then
they'll show up with those bullets.
Yeah, they'll all, like you'll be like the guy.
Take all your Head and Shoulders.
You'll be like the guy.
Are we sponsored by them?
Now we will be.
You'll You'd be like the guy that owns a pickup truck and everybody's constantly wanting him to haul stuff. So, and you have to keep it secret. And I'm not kidding on this. You have to keep it secret from workmen who come to your house and from maids and gardeners and stuff like that.
What about people who listen to podcasts?
Well, I'm a writer. I got to make the sacrifice there. But the like in Germany,
fortify the house when the inflation hits the fan.
In Austria,
you buy the bullets to protect the barter.
No, what I have money in Canada, and I'm trying to make sure I have a transportation mechanism that'll get me to Canada. So I won't need the bullets, hopefully. But anyway, you're
for those thinking they're going to come here, he's got them.
Yes, we do, actually. That's another reason why I say, most of the people who have guns probably have too many bullets, actually, if you want to know the truth. And
if they went out, especially in California, if they went out of their way to get a gun, they
probably
have
every time
an inordinate amount of bullets.
Every time
I have one friend who, I can assure you, has way too many guns and bullets.
Every time Obama opened his mouth and said the word gun, people went out and bought more bullets.
Yeah,
it was the biggest boon to guns and ammunition sales in history.
Sold more guns than Wayne LaPierre.
or John Wayne. But anyway, the barter items should be durable. They should be identifiable as to their quality and quantity, purity. They should be things that people use up on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, and that ain't bullets and it ain't gold and there's the currency like the what's called junk silver, the pre-1965 dimes, quarters, and $50 would be a fabulous barter item. So what I'm trying to say is if you got valuables in your house and you think, well, you'll just barter stuff once we have hyperinflation, you will barter. You can barter stuff, but you're going to be screaming like a stuck pig at the crappy deal you get because there's no change, and the you don't have enough of the good stuff that I'm describing. So you're going to be forced to overpay for stuff with artwork and gold and stuff like that. Gold is a barter item, by the way, and it is a lousy barter item because of the robbery risk, the counterfeiting risk, the non-convenient denominations. The denominations are too high, and the need to assay it to establish that it really is 99% pure gold. So
for the people in Florida, I guess you've already said that it's too late, right? They needed to do this last week or the last month.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a couple of things on the list they could do. They could certainly fill up 2-liter bottles with water from their faucet.
Right.
In Germany during the hyperinflation, the water guys, the guys at the water company used to go on strike because pay wasn't high enough. So whenever the water was on, people would put the stopper in their tub and fill it up. In a rare occasion,
in anticipation of the incoming strike.
Well, yes. Well, the repeated strikes, the wave after wave of strikes. So. People get nutty when you get into these crises. The toilet tank, by the way, is another source of water. And this is the rectangular box full of water up above the toilet seat, not the bowl. And the bowl is fine, as your pets know, before someone uses it. Although you would have liked to have had it sanitized. But anyway,
well, yes, we're talking about serious situation. You're not too worried about the condition of the water in the toilet bowl if you need to get water out of a toilet bowl.
True.
These are dire times we speak of.
But what I think is, if you had a big emergency in Salt Lake City, where the predominantly Mormon, I don't think you would see these long lines buying food and water and stuff, because the Mormon church teaches you should have this stuff all the time, and
right.
It's not.
How'd they end up in Utah?
Well, that's a long story that I don't
strategic?
know. No, it was about they felt persecuted back in the East is the reason.
Heard that guy tell him to go there.
And although the
Dum.
Mormons advocate having a year's worth of stuff, but it has really, from my perspective, I'm not a Mormon, it has nothing to do with the Mormon religion. It's just a good idea, and the fact that they do it is irrelevant. Except that you can see they're pretty good at it.
Well, they've got places you can go where they facilitate doing that?
They have stores all over the place. The one here up in Concord that we go to. But a lot of the stored food that I bought is what they do a process called dry pack. And it used to be you could dry pack your own, which was kind of fun, which I did. Then it was outlawed by the state of California because they want more sanitary conditions. But and then freeze dried the freeze dried food tastes better. The Mormon stuff, it's like all white, like sugar, flour, macaroni. They're very big on white there, and it's all like for making
Mormons
stuff.
Mormons are known for that.
Yeah, it's
They're
like
big on flavor.
It's like for Mormons making stuff from scratch, and I mean scratch.
Big on caffeine.
Baking powder, that kind of stuff. Whereas with Mountain House freeze dried, that stuff comes in
another incoming sponsor.
Yeah, you buy Mountain House if you buy it in these pouches that they sell in like REI Co-op, it has about a 7-year life. But if you buy the number 10 cans that I get, it's got like a 25-year life, and I love it. I think they go out to the day. It's like May 23rd. 2043 or something, and I told my sons, don't let that thing go past that expiration date.
But the dot. It would be
yeah.
11 p.m.
That was yesterday.
Quick, eat it all.
We've got Thanksgiving planned for 2042.
Yeah, damn right.
But with the Mountain House stuff, it's freeze dried. If you have the pouch, and you could use the pouch, I guess, to cook it, you open it and you boil boiling water in it, and it's ready to eat. Whereas the stuff you get from the Mormons, it's like raw ingredients that you're going to spend an hour in the kitchen, making a pumpkin pie out of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm reading about Irma. Sounds pretty bad. They got stories about empty shelves everywhere.
Yeah,
lines around the block, gas stations.
Right. Well, we had that
running dry.
It's going to be us when we get
and
the next big earthquake.
Amazon facing complaints of price gouging.
Oh, really?
The water is $6 more than it is in the Northeast, and somebody noticed this.
Well, it's fine. So Amazon could say, all right, we won't sell any more $6 water. Well, how much are you selling it for? Oh, we're not. We what we had there is gone. Why is Amazon selling water, for God's sake? It's a mail order place.
Well, it's not.
Why
Amazon.
is anybody selling
people,
water? It's free.
It's people posting it and selling it.
Oh,
Amazon's the middleman.
They're third parties. Oh, I get it.
Of course, you accuse Amazon of not throttling the gouging.
Yeah.
If it's too high, don't buy it.
Well, yeah.
We are a retailer. We are not.
Well, we
covered this.
We discussed that in our last podcast. If you think the price is too high, don't buy it. But there's no reason why you wouldn't want the option. So North Korea. We also talked about this last time, but I had an idea. My unelected president hero, Mike Medlock, he dealt with this in a different way than Trump. He's a former military guy. Trump is not. And my guy wanted the element of surprise because it saves lives and increases success probability and all that. So Mr. Trump has chosen a different path. So let's start with Mr. Trump's path. Mr. Trump's path is to say to the world, I have tried every possible way to avoid military action. I have gone to the UN. I've gone to every international organization. I've gone to China. I've gone to everybody. And nobody can deal with it. So that's what he's done. And that's arguably okay as well. But at this point, I think what he should do is say, I want all Americans, other than military, out of South Korea. And we're bringing home the military dependents. We're going to put out a travel advisory from the State Department saying, if you are in South Korea and you're an American, we strongly recommend that you leave. If you are planning to go to South Korea, we recommend you cancel the trip. Now, that's going to catch people's attention in North Korea and the rest of the world. And then also move aircraft carriers and planes and all that stuff. The initial attack needs to be nuclear. And we can fire a couple of Trident missiles out of San Francisco Bay for that purpose. But after those things explode on the air bases and stuff, the missile launching sites and maybe the artillery area on the border, then we need conventional weapons because there won't be any more targets left that are suitable for an explosion as big as a nuke. So after the
You're saying nuking the North Korea's military out of existence.
There are air bases, Navy bases,
as much as you can.
And missiles. Yeah. But they're very hardened. They're inside mountains and stuff. But so we hit them with the nukes. That's going to eliminate a lot of their strategic assets. And they don't have the missiles and the nukes are their main strategic assets. They have some old planes and they got artillery pieces along the border. Well, they're better than that, but they're old. They're probably the oldest significant air force in the world, and I don't know if they can keep them flying. They may not have the parts.
Bought them from the Wright brothers consignment store.
Well, they may have trouble with the parts. They may have trouble training maintenance technicians to work on them. They may have trouble with pilots. I don't know. I don't think it's a very good military other than their nukes. So anyway, after you drop the hit them with the nuclear warheads, then there's going to be a whole lot of dust and smoke and dead people and wounded people. And then you blanket the country with drones, manned aircraft, satellite photography, and anything that moves, you kill it. Anything military that moves, you kill it. But I think there's one other interim step that we need. It just occurred to me in the last 24 hours or so. Trump needs to go make a speech where he says, people of North Korea, people in the military of North Korea, you can't hear me now because of censorship. But I'm hoping somehow this will get through. You need to get rid of this guy, Kim Jong-un. And you need to stop with the nukes. You need to stop with the long-range missiles. You don't need either one. You're on a peaceful peninsula except for you. If you start acting like normal, responsible country, you don't need the nukes. You don't need the long-range missiles. Everything, you be prosperous. You got to get rid of Kim Jong-un, got to get rid of the nukes, got to get rid of the long-range missiles. If you do, probably very few people are going to die. If you make me do it, a whole lot of people are going to die. I don't want a whole lot of people to die. I would rather not do that. And I think the only thing standing between the Korean people and dying is Kim Jong-un. So get rid of Kim Jong-un. You don't have to kill him. Put him in a cell somewhere. Let him emigrate to Iran.
House arrest and give him a subscription to HBO Now.
He can go to Iran. He can go to the Ecuadorian embassy. He can do a lot of things. We don't need him dead.
Martha's Vineyard.
We
don't care.
Yeah.
Just take him out of power.
Yeah. Jekyll Island. So anyway, but either you do it or we do it. If you do it, it's going to be infinitely easier on everyone. Most importantly, you. If we do it, it's going to be a lot of people get hurt. So I think he should probably do that. And that alone might work. They may take him out.
What would Kim Jong-un? How would he respond to that?
Well, let me discuss that because I did in Facebook. Kim Jong-un may go, uh-oh, he's not kidding. And Kim Jong-un doesn't strike me as a suicide bomber. So I think he might retire to Syria or Iran or Cuba. I don't know. But maybe some of his top military guys maybe go in a room together and say, you know what, we need to do what Trump said because otherwise our families are going to be dead, et cetera, et cetera. So it might work. That speech might get it done. I don't know, but it might. And if it doesn't,
hard to know.
C'est la guerre. Yeah, it's very hard to know. I don't make any prediction. I'm just saying. I think it's something he needs to do. That's what this thing about I tried everything. That's the final everything.
Could also result in Kim Jong-un launching everything he has at whoever he can.
We should be right now ready to shoot those missiles down as they depart, and we can have our missiles hitting them before theirs hit us, because we have a lot of nukes close to there. So I'm not concerned about that. We've come to the point where that's either going to happen now or later. So we got to get this over with. We need to get those three things. No more Kim family running this country. No more nukes in that country. No more long-range weapons in that country. But one of the main dangers is not that they're going to shoot them at us, but that they're going to sell them to everybody in the Middle East.
Next topic we were going to talk about was DACA. So, for those that aren't familiar,
like me,
it's the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It was passed in 2012, or was it an executive order?
Oh, it's an executive order. It absolutely didn't pass anything.
It postponed the deportation of minors under 15.
People who
for
arrived
up to 2 years.
They were brought to the U.S. as children, and then Obama gave them 2 years. After he said 22 times on videotape, I don't have that power. It's not the way our system works. It's unconstitutional. I can't just do that. And then he went ahead and did it. Yeah. So it's totally illegal.
Yeah, he said we can't wait for the legislation or something like that. I have a pen and a phone.
Well, I don't know if he was talking about DACA.
Yeah.
He said, well, I heard a congressman or senator today say 22 times on tape, we have Obama saying, you guys are all pushing me to do this DACA thing. I can't do it. It's against the law. It has been overturned, I believe, once or twice in the courts. It's working its way through the courts. Matter of fact, some people on TV were saying, I don't know why he didn't just let it continue through the courts. Well, one reason is that they haven't shut it down, and it's illegal. It's unconstitutional.
What happens after 2 years?
I don't know.
Well, then
they probably give you another 2.
It's a 2-year head start to hide.
Well, let's get down to the bottom line here. What this whole immigration thing is about. And I know a lot of the illegal immigrants are not Central Americans, but that's mainly what we're talking about with the Central Americans. The reason the Democrats want them to come in here and get a path to citizenship and all that is because, to quote Ted Cruz, the Democrats think that Central American immigrants are undocumented Democrats. So they want to give them citizenship. They say, oh, we just want them out of the shadows and all that. They don't want any of that. What they want is to give them citizenship, which means they can vote. And they think that letting Central Americans violate the immigration laws will please the Central Americans in question, and eventually they'll be able to vote, and they'll be lifelong Democrats. They also think it will please existing Latino voters who will vote Democrat because the Democrats are the party of their DNA. And so the whole thing is a bunch of nonsense to get more Democrat voters in the country. Now, I think people like Hillary Clinton think this is going to mean that the Latinos are going to come here and vote for them. No, I think actually the Latinos are going to come here and vote for somebody whose name ends in a vowel or a Z. And Hillary she might be invited to the party.
Perhaps. You once proposed, it might have been you, maybe it was somebody else, but it was something to the effect of you could test this theory of they want to increase the voter rolls. Just, Trump or the Republicans could propose, okay, we'll let the dreamers dream, but they don't get to vote for some period of time.
Ted Cruz did that.
Oh, he did?
They were saying, we want these people out of the shadows, and they live in fear, and we just want them to be able to get a job. And Cruz said, you know what? I'm going to support you. And I just have this one little addition. They never get citizenship. And the Democrats went nuts. Because it wasn't about any of the stuff they're talking about, living in the shadows and splitting up families. All it was about is Democrat votes. And the blacks have been pretty reliable Democrat votes since the 60s. And I'm old enough to know from the 50s they were not. The Democrat Party was the party of segregation and the Confederacy and all that stuff. But John Kennedy pulled a little publicity stunt and changed that. I don't know that the Latinos are going to be so reliable. My impression is the Latinos are regular, they think for themselves and they understand capitalism and all that. I don't think they're going to be so gonzo for the Democrats. But anyway, the Democrats believe they're gonzo for them. They believe that every Latin American or Central American immigrant riding on the top of a train is a future Democrat voter. Now, that's so much for what's really going on here. What's really going on is the Democrats are trying to not enforce the laws on immigration because they think it will benefit them at the ballot box. The Republicans are letting them get away with it because they're afraid to piss off the Latino voters already here, which is valid. And so they're allowing these illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and it's not just those that would come across the border and vote. It's the people who sympathize with them for whatever reason. Right. What you might call the people, the feeling voters rather than the thinking voters. I've gotten into a couple debates with people online where they're like, "Why can't they just stay? They're just trying to work, and they're the person I'm debating this with is not an immigrant that's trying to come here. They're
trying
sympathetic
to be nice.
To that.
They want to be known as a nice person.
It also solidifies the existing base of feelers who just they want to feel good about helping people and with other people's money.
You can't let people come here illegally, because if you do, you will get more of them. Ronald Reagan did one of these amnesty things. And it was like, well, this is it, and we're going to solidify the border, and we're going to let these people who are here stay, but that's it, no more. And what do we get? They're riding on top of train cars. The 8 zillion people. The Cubans are running, dashing up the beach like an invading army. It's a bunch of nonsense. My immigration policy, by the way, is that it should be done like recruiting football players in college. You look for the best people in the world, and we need an annual quota. Now, we need about it's either 1 million or 3 million immigrants a year, because we don't make enough American babies. So we have to have these people, and we have always been...
Have to have them to what end?
Maintain the population.
Why do we need to maintain the population?
Because of the population pyramid. You're supposed to have a whole lot of young people and relatively few old people. We don't have a pyramid anymore in this country.
For
Social Security and all. Well, I don't think we should have the entitlements, but we do. Anyway, the pyramid, our pyramid now looks like a chimney. It's a silo. It's straight up and down.
Is immigration as a finance model?
Yes, it's part of it. Well, everybody's
immigration as a workforce.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is in favor of growth. You know where growth comes from? GDP growth. It comes from two places. One is more people, which we can either have babies or we can have immigrants. And then the GDP goes up because the average person is making...
productivity. See?
That's the second thing.
Okay.
Productivity. So either you got to get more people here to have GDP growth, or, I don't think the public really wants GDP growth. They think they do. I think what they want is their own personal salary, take-home pay to go up.
Right.
Okay? But the way you do that is productivity. So once upon a time, I was a high school kid, and then I went to college, and I was worth more money, and I made more money because I went to college. My productivity was increased. Then I went to Harvard Business School, and I got even more productive. So you go to welding school, or you go to Culinary Institute or something. You go somewhere to make yourself more productive.
Well,
that's
as just getting a job and learning on the job.
Right.
Right. For example, my degree, I didn't think it came into it wasn't a big factor in some of the jobs I got. But once I got these little jobs that were unrelated, I learned stuff to get the next job, and the productivity just went up.
Right. But you have people who their productivity sucked when they started, and it never improved. You know, they're day laborers, or they're doing the same
burgers. Job for 20, 30 years, and they expect a raise every year, and it's like, well, you're doing the same thing you were doing.
Well, they're probably a little bit better, but they sort of need to move up in responsibility to get more jobs.
Yeah, well, people quote statistics of how wages have stagnated and this, that, and the other thing, and the rich have gotten richer. And I always use the example, a busboy in the 60s is moving plates from X to from A to B.
Right.
Whether it's 1967 or 2017, that task is the same level of productivity. You might have a few new dishwasher technology that can do it. They can do it faster, but the actual moving of stuff, there are certain jobs that have not changed, so the wages shouldn't change.
Right.
With inflation. To contrast, rich people or VPs or CEOs or whatever didn't have smartphones in 1967, and today they do. Their productivity probably went up 100-fold, if not more. Well, they can reach more people. They can direct more people to do more things for them. These gaps are...
the equation on the widening income gap, I think it has to do with a whole lot of stuff like factory jobs leaving the United States because of environmental restrictions here. So you can make something in China where they let you pollute like crazy, and so the middle class job went away because the environmentalists were outside the gates of the factory screaming at the smokestack.
People say it went away. It's decreased. All these jobs are still there.
Right.
There's less of them in certain industries in certain areas of the country.
Well, and then there's also all these studies that show that the top 1% like 20% of them 5 years ago were not in the top 1%. And 20% of the people who were in the top 1% 5 years ago are no longer. So it's
There's
not
more turnover.
It's not just
that.
the same people.
Yeah, over a 10-year. Yeah, I saw a statistic over a 10-year period. Something like 80-90% were only in the top 1% for 1 year, and the number that were in for 2 years was a single-digit percentage, and none were in the top 1% for more than 2 years. There might be,
not a
there
percentage.
Might be a couple. Yeah, there might be a couple.
Warren Buffett.
People.
Yeah, but anyway, the thing is the idea that the 1%. This is like a European idea that the 1% are the same people who were the 1% 100 years ago. They're not.
Yeah, there's no evidence of that.
No, and at the bottom 20% are the same people who were the bottom 20% 100 years ago. That's not the way it works in America. I was probably in the bottom 10 or 20% when I was in high school, and now I'm at the other end. But I went to Harvard Business School. I went to college. I started my own business. You know, I did a bunch of stuff. That's another thing. Everybody talks about jobs. Start your own business. Somebody once called England a nation of shopkeepers, maybe 100 years ago. It would be good if we could get back to that. But people start their own business and they get better and better at it every year, and that's productivity, and their income goes up. That we should have a lot more of that. But there's so many people in this country who regard having your own business as like an impossible dream.
Right. Well,
they're nuts.
It is more onerous than it was 50 years ago to start a shop, keep a shop.
I got to disagree with that. For example,
how many employees do you have?
I have none, but that's you're making my point.
You're saying be a sole proprietor shopkeeper? No employees?
Yes, that's what I do.
You also don't have a shop,
Mike. Well, I don't have a retail store. I have a retail store online. I don't have a retail store, bricks and mortar. Now, Mike just processed the orders a little while ago, so you got to be careful about saying I don't have any employees.
There are some things,
but these
business-wise, that are infinitely easier than they were, especially if you want to do some kind of online business or provide some kind of digital product.
I sell books now around the world, and the reason I do that effortlessly is because of Endicia. It's this postage thing, which is online, but I have a little printer that prints the labels out, and I have a little scale. So somebody orders a couple of books, we put them on the scale, and we hit weigh on the computer screen, and it weighs it, and then we say we want to ship these by priority mail, and it says, okay, that's cost this much, and it prints the label. So, and if it's going to another country, it also prints out the customs form. The postal thing prints out the customs form. So they made it so easy. I used to have a policy against selling abroad because it was a pain in the neck, but stop being a pain in the neck.
I remember.
So that's Dan used to process the orders too. So here I have a company. My company selling the books that I write operates 24/7, 365 and a quarter days a year. It sells worldwide, and I have no employees. You know, my wife and one of my sons will help me with the orders a little bit, but I couldn't have done that. I could have done it, but not so easily, not so efficiently years ago. But like 24 hours a day, you could 2:00 in the morning, you go buy one of my books. I'm asleep, but your order is going to get processed, and we're not going to ship until Mike comes over the next day or the day after or something. But I could if I did ebooks, and I'm working on my first one now. If I did ebooks, you could order it at 2:00 in the morning, and you could start reading it at 2:04. And all
2:00 and 30 seconds. You could
yeah. And all I would need to do would be to count my money. You know, I could live on a ship in Tora Bora, or not Tora Bora, but Bora Bora, in the South Pacific, and just check the email to see how much money I made that day. Right. I wouldn't have to do anything. But that you couldn't. It used to be that way. So in many ways, it's better now to start your own business than ever before. It is true that the Economic Freedom Index in the United States keeps going down, down, down because of more and more. You have to get an environmental impact report and all this crap. But Uber and Airbnb have come up with a new business model that just says, shove your rules and regulations up your butt. We're going to do it anyway. And they seem to be getting away with it. And so it may be that more regulations will fall as a result of stuff like that. But I'm hopeful that they will get rid of. And you around the country, around the world, you have people doing experiments like Singapore. I think one of the reasons China is so prosperous now is they went to Singapore, and said something along the lines of, "Gee, you look like us, and you're doing really, really well." And they went to Hong Kong. You were there the day Hong Kong went back to China. I was in Hong Kong in July 1970 when it was a colony. I mean, it wasn't a former colony. It was a colony right now. And you saw all these signs all over, the colony of Hong Kong, that was British. But the Chinese went to Hong Kong. It's like the most prosperous place on earth per square mile, Hong Kong used to be. And right now it's like number 2 or something. And then you have Singapore, which is this fabulous city-state that's also super, super prosperous. It's full of Asians. What are you doing that we're not doing? Well, capitalism is called, free markets. So the Chinese decided to lift their boot off the throats of their citizens and allow a little bit of free market, and boom, they have the biggest growth rate in the world. So what's happening around the world is that people are trying economic freedom. I think Estonia had some ridiculously low income tax when they broke off from the Soviet Union, and they immediately had an explosion of prosperity. So people notice these things, and they go, maybe these barnacles of regulations and rules and restrictions that have grown up on the bottom of our ship of state should be scraped off. Maybe we should. And you see it here in the United States. You get all these states in the Midwest, which is the birthplace of the American Union movement, and they're going to right-to-work state, one after another. Wisconsin and Ohio. These are places.
They can't compete on weather. They can't compete on
but
location in big cities. So they're competing on economic freedom.
Yeah, they better get rid of the unions, and they are. And then you see all these southern states that used to be dying because the textile industry went in the tubes, and now they got a Mercedes plant and a Toyota plant and a Lexus plant and all that stuff. So the countries and states they call them the laboratories of democracy. They try deregulation, like Texas doesn't have any income tax. They try deregulation, lowering taxes, and it doesn't always work, but it frequently does work. And then other people say, well, let's do that. So I don't know that the trend is against economic freedom. It moves kind of glacially, but I think it's getting better. And around the world, hundreds of millions of people, billions of people have been raised out of poverty in the last 50 years by essentially free markets.
Yeah, India and China having the biggest things. I think we're sort of more pessimistic about it, the economic freedom, because California has got some of the... If anybody's going the wrong direction, it'd be California, a couple other states.
Well, California's the
Whereas
place.
You said the Midwest and southern states are not necessarily going in that direction.
Let's talk about California for a second. I just mentioned Uber and Airbnb. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Those are both San Francisco headquartered companies. We have Silicon Valley, which is probably the most prosperous economic region on the planet. We have laws. You have some states like New York, New Jersey, where they allow rent control, which is just devastating to housing. In California, we have a law called the
San
Ellis.
Francisco has it.
Yes, and Berkeley. In California, though, we have a law called the Ellis Act, which allows people to go out of the rental business. In New York, you can't go out of the rental business. You're like a slave for life and your children after you. And then we have another law here that says there's no rent control on any building built after, I forget what year it is 91 or 85 or something. Because at the time they did the big rent control push, they all new construction stopped in California because the builders were afraid the building would get rent controlled. So in order to keep new construction happening, they had to promise buildings built after a certain year could never be rent controlled. And then there's also a law, I think, in California that says whenever there's a vacancy, you have interim decontrol, meaning that unit is no longer rent controlled until a new tenant moves in. Then it becomes rent controlled again, but at the new higher level. So when you have interim decontrol, you have the Ellis Act, and you have the law that says buildings built after a certain year can't be rent controlled. Over time, the number of rent control units in California is going down, down, down. So we have some good laws, and we live here. It's I'm getting annoyed by the electricity rates that we have to pay 40 cents a kilowatt hour because we got to subsidize all this solar and wind fairy tale nonsense. But California has good and bad, and it's a very prosperous state. It used to be if it was, they said it was a country, it would be sixth in the world in GDP. And I think we dropped down like 7 or 8. I think we're back up to 6. It's really, we have too many restrictions. We get too much environmental crap. We get the Coastal Commission and all that. That all needs to go. But we have referendums in this state. And one of them said you can't teach foreign languages in the public schools. The kids just have to.
You can't require it?
Right. Well, you can't. Yeah, you can't require it, and you can't have not you can't require it. The high school kids study foreign languages so they can pretend they're Europeans. But the elementary school kids, if they come here and they speak Cambodian, they need to go to school and they need to figure it out on the run. And it turned out it worked better, and that's the way it was 100 years ago. But we also have a referendum that said there will be no affirmative action. So the number of blacks in like the law school at the University of California dropped to 1, and when he found out he was the only one, he switched and went to Harvard. So we have a very
is that a true story? Or
okay. Yes, it was in a local papers. It was one black guy was going to come in. They used to have affirmative action. They had a whole lot of black guys, and then the people of California abolished affirmative action in the universities and in hiring.
State
I think.
Universities.
The non-private, the public universities, and the percentage of like Asians exploded. The percentage of whites went up dramatically. The percentage of Latinos dropped, and the percentage of blacks like plummeted off the face of the earth. And there was this one guy, the first year, initially the colleges said, well, we're not going to abide by that. And the state government said,
here comes the lawsuit.
Well, yeah, they went to court, and the court said, you will abide by it. We have a referendum. This was a constitutional amendment to the state constitution, and you will damn well abide by it. And then they did. And the year they did, there was one black guy get accepted to the Bowl Hall, I think it was, law school, which is the University of California. And when he found out he was the only one, he switched, I think, to Harvard law. And so they had none.
Why?
He didn't want to be the only black guy.
Does Harvard law have a...
Oh, Harvard law. This just came out. Rush was talking about it yesterday, I think. There's 400%. The number of bisexuals at Harvard in the incoming class is 400% of what it is in the general population. Jesus. So 400%.
You think this is a admissions filter?
Oh, absolutely.
It's too high to be
400%.
Well, we're talking two.
Well, it's like two people.
8.
Yeah, exactly. But as far the bisexual population in America is like 1 point something, and at Harvard the incoming class is 4 times that. Right. My own college, West Point. I had a young man. He's like a middle school kid. He says he wants to go to West Point. I have some articles about West Point online, so he contacted me. He said, I want to go to West Point, and I want to be the first captain of the Corps of Cadets, which is the top cadet. And he said, that's what and he didn't say he wanted to do it. He said he was going to do it. And I said, well, I'll give you a little piece of advice. You're going to think I'm being a wise ass, but I'm not. If you were a gay transgender, you would have a much better shot at it. Because every time they bring in a new group, whether it's women or...
gay and transgender.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 letters.
With a neck brace.
Yeah.
In the acronym.
Yeah.
I guess the neck brace wouldn't help you in this particular case.
Well, anyway,
extra intersection.
If you can punch a couple of those LGBTQ tickets... I said that would grammatically, you wouldn't have to be as good to be the first captain if you had one of those ticket punches, especially the most trendy, latest one. You're a guy now, and you want to be the first captain at West Point. Become a girl, and then do well in school. And
career advice from Jack Reed.
Yeah. Well, and I said to him at the end of it, I said, I'm not kidding. I am literally not kidding. You see, here on the wall, I guess
great radio.
Yeah, it's great radio. Here on the wall, behind these boxes here, it's not even great in person with the boxes in the way. There's a picture, a West Point cadet, a single West Point cadet. It's called a view book from when I was in high school. The view book, is a little brochure to get you to come there. It has a blue-eyed blonde guy.
From what year?
63. Okay. Now, all the pictures that are corresponding to that at West Point, where they're trying to get you to come, it's like 8 people. And guess who they are? It's the whole smorgasbord, the whole spectrum.
That's every college's brochure.
Yeah, But this is even at West Point. Is
Never,
what I'm saying.
never two people of the same color in subsequent pictures. You turn the page, you're going to get a new flavor.
Yeah, but they used to be the World War II movies. We were so proud of our diversity, but in World War II, the diversity we were proud of was Italians and Irish and Polish people in the country, and you would have this scene in a war movie back then, and of course the Germans were
hair colors and facial hair were your diversity.
No, it was names.
An accent.
It was names.
Of course.
So you see this infantry squad pinned down by the enemy, and the squad leader says, "All right, Ginsburg, you take O'Malley and Guglielmo, and you go around the right side. And Juarez, I want you to take Henderson and Spitzberg, and so it was
picking up stereotypical names on the fly.
All these ostentatiously European ethnic. It was European. So
right.
There was no. I said Juarez. Yeah, there wasn't any of that in World War II.
Is that French?
That would have been Puerto Rican.
Sounds Greek.
Puerto Rican when I was a kid. And I grew up in the East Coast, but there was no Asians, unless you're doing a movie about the Japanese regiment in Italy, or the Tuskegee Airmen. And back during World War II, they had Tuskegee Airmen, but they didn't make movies about them. So anyway, but they were showing off how ethnically diverse in a European-only manner each infantry squad was compared to the Germans who only liked Germans.
Yeah, I think diversity went through the phase of, okay, now we got the different colors, and now you're getting into some weird stuff with the really long acronym.
Bedroom actions.
When you look, I saw the acronyms, at least one acronym. It was like a book section. It was LGBTQ, and then it went on for 8 more letters, 2 more A's. I think there was a pound sign. It looked like a Wi-Fi password.
And the artist formerly known as Prince.
But there are people arguing online. You've got these different letters arguing with each other over diversity.
Yeah.
The L's, the G's, and the B's are like, they're almost becoming the privileged cis males.
I'm a real L. You're a TL. That's not as real as a real L. I was born an L.
You don't have as many boxes checked, and yeah.
Well, I think the U.S. military, including West Point and the other service academies, is more interested now in diversity than they are in defense, and I mean that literally.
Yeah,
and it's wrong. Oh, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.